Have you ever looked down at your phone, seen a certain friend's name pop up, and felt this sudden dread? Instead of the joy you're supposed to feel? Well, welcome to This Explainer. I am absolutely thrilled to be with you today because we're going to take some pretty complex ideas and break them down into clear, actionable blueprints for your life. We are analyzing something that literally impacts every single one of us every single day, the psychology behind our friendships. But we aren't just going to look at human connection as some fuzzy, abstract feeling. No, we're going to look at it as a deliberate structure. We're getting right down to the very foundation of the people you choose to surround yourself with. Okay, let's dive into this. I want you to take a moment and look genuinely at your own life. Are your friends actually on your side? It's a heavy question, right? We go through life accumulating friends, from school, from work, from our neighborhoods, and honestly, a lot of it is just proximity. We just happen to be in the same place at the same time. And without ever stopping to assess the structural integrity of those bonds, we just keep building on them. We kind of assume that because we share a laugh or grab a coffee, the foundation is rock solid. But today, we're going to put that assumption to the ultimate test. And that brings us directly to the core premise of our source material for today's deep dive. We're conducting a psychological teardown based on the concepts from The Architecture of Authentic Connection, The Psychology of Friendship, How to Tell Who's a Real Friend and Who's Fake. Our objective here is to strip away all the sentimentality and look straight at the hard psychological facts. Now, you might be wondering, why is stripping away that sentimentality so incredibly difficult for us? Well, it's because we cling to history. We hold on to nostalgia. We remember who someone was 10 years ago, and we use that memory to excuse how they treat us today. But to truly evaluate our inner circles, we're going to build an objective framework together. This is going to help you figure out who is truly in your corner and who is, well, merely taking up space.
Section 1. The Architecture of Connection.
Now, what's really interesting about this concept is how it shifts our perspective entirely. We really must start viewing our relationships as architectural structures. Think about it. Just like a building, a friendship either has the engineering to support you, or it's a flawed design that's going to drain your resources and eventually, inevitably, collapse. By defining connection as a supportive psychological structure, we instantly remove our emotional biases. When you look at a building, you don't keep a rotting, broken beam just because you have fond memories of it, right? You replace it because it's dangerous to the whole structure. Authentic connection requires a solid foundation of trust, empathy, and mutual respect. Fake friendships, on the other hand, are exactly like movie sets. They look absolutely gorgeous from the outside, but they rest on weak, superficial pillars. When the storms of life hit, and they always do, that facade blows right over because there is zero actual support holding it up. Moving on to Section 2, Identifying Fake Friendships. All right, it's time to put on our hard hats and get a little clinical here. We need to identify the cracks in the foundation, looking closely at those draining relationships that might be quietly compromising your well-being. The absolute most glaring difference between a fake friend and a real one comes down to the nature of the exchange. Fake friendships operate purely on transactional interactions. It's like an unspoken ledger. You know exactly the type. The friend who only calls when they need help moving a couch or when they suddenly want access to your professional network. It's a business deal masking as a bond. The vibe is very much, I'll be here for you, but only if you provide me with status, entertainment, or a favor in return. Now, contrast that with unconditional bonds. In these genuine connections, support is given freely. It's given simply because of who you are to them, not what you can do for them. There is no ledger being constantly tallied. These everyday scenarios brilliantly illustrate the stark difference between the two. Say you get a major promotion. You finally snag that job you've been working so hard toward. A fake friend? They'll offer a hollow congratulations while secretly downplaying your success. Why? Because your win threatens their ego. It makes them feel smaller. But a real friend? They are popping the champagne. Your win is their win. Or what about a tough breakup? The fake friend practically vanishes. They ghost you because you aren't fun right now. They're that classic good vibes only friend who bolts at the absolute first sign of complex human emotion. The real friend is right there on your couch, bringing you dinner, perfectly willing to sit in the messy, uncomfortable reality with you for as long as it takes. And when you make a mistake, a fake friend uses your failure as fresh gossip fuel for their other circles. A real friend tells you the truth gently, picks up a wrench, and helps you fix it. If you're still wondering where some of your specific relationships stand, let's look at the ultimate signs of a weak foundation. Number 1, they drain your energy. You know that exact feeling, right? That complete, heavy exhaustion after grabbing a quick lunch with someone where you walk away feeling like you just run an emotional marathon. That is a massive psychological red flag. Number 2 is their conditional presence. They're only around when the weather is fair and the drinks are flowing. And finally, a complete lack of genuine reciprocity. You're always the one initiating the plans, listening to the venting, and compromising your schedule. Honestly, ask yourself, how many times have you bent over backwards for someone who wouldn't even cross the street for you? Recognizing these markers isn't mean. It's that validating aha moment where you finally understand why a certain person in your life leaves you feeling so incredibly frustrated.
Let's move to section 3 and see how this builds into the positives. Traits of real friends. Because hey, it's not just about identifying the bad architecture, right? It's about recognizing and celebrating the masterful engineering of real, authentic friendships. Focus on that core concept for a second. Essential structural integrity. Real friends are the load-bearing walls of your life. When the roof caves in, maybe you lose a job, a long-term relationship unexpectedly ends, or you're simply having a terrible, chaotic week. These are the connections that hold the house up. They absorb the immense pressure of those storms, they don't buckle, they ensure that no matter what fierce winds are howling from the outside, your internal world remains structurally sound and entirely safe.
So the crucial point is this. Think of conditional convenience like a cardboard wall. It looks perfectly fine until someone actually leans on it, and then it immediately crumbles. A real friend's presence is not based on geographic convenience or whether you happen to be useful to their current life goals. Genuine support means they show up consistently. They're wonderfully proactive. They don't just wait for you to cry for help, they check in on you. They remember the names of the coworkers who stress you out. They remember the exact dates of the things that actually matter to you. They are deeply, genuinely invested in the construction of your happiness, not just renting a room in it for the weekend.
Which brings us to section 4, auditing your inner circle.
Now that we have the blueprints, it's time to put this knowledge to work. Let's use these 3 steps to audit your circle and actively renovate your daily life. Step 1, strip away your emotional bias. We've got to stop making excuses for people based on history. Just because you've known someone for 10, 15, or 20 years doesn't mean they're a healthy structural component of your life today. Length of time simply does not equal structural integrity. Step 2, identify those draining connections. Find the energy vampires, the ones whose presence is entirely conditional, and start establishing boundaries. Listen, you don't have to be cruel, you don't have to cause a massive scene, but you absolutely do have to protect your peace. And finally, step 3, invest in genuine support. Take the time and the emotional bandwidth you just reclaimed from the fake friends and pour it directly into those load-bearing relationships. Call those real friends today. Thank them for being your foundation. Strengthen those pillars. Which leaves us with this final, absolutely vital question to ponder. Who gets your energy? Your time and your emotional bandwidth are finite resources. They are the literal building blocks of your life. You and only you get to decide who is worthy of those materials. Are you handing them over to people who are just building a superficial facade? Or are you investing them in architects who are helping you build a home? Take a hard look at your blueprint today and start building connections that are truly made to last. Thank you so much for learning with me in this explainer, and I highly encourage you to go apply this audit to your life right now. See you next time.